The chickens and the ducks?
Yeah.
I knew it. Hi, cutie.
Jennifer Kearney has plenty to keep her busy these days. A little boy who's about to turn 2, a new role at work. And she's the first to admit it can be a lot.
I've had anxiety for as long as I can remember. It's been that gnawing feeling, the tightness in your chest, some of that dizziness, shortness of breath.
But for Jennifer, it all came to a head in 2013, running the Boston Marathon.
There was a guy, a runner, who had his medal and his foil on, walking toward us, and he was white as a ghost, and he goes, "There were bombs."
Her family was there that day too. Her parents were at the finish line. She says it took hours to make sure everyone was okay.
That was when a lot of my anxiety started to really get away from me. 6 weeks of not going out, not eating, not sleeping. And finally, it was that little voice kept getting louder and louder until I had to audibly say, "I'm not fine. I'm not fine. And I need somebody to help me."
She started therapy, learning new tools to help control her anxiety. When the pandemic hit, she feared what she calls the tornado in her head would strike again. But it didn't. And it turns out she's not alone.
I was blown away and surprised, in a positive way, that our patients did extremely well.
Dr. David Rossmarin is a researcher at McLean Hospital and also founded the Center for Anxiety. He studied more than 700 cognitive therapy patients over the course of the pandemic. That research found people who were in treatment before the world went on lockdown saw no increase in anxiety during one of the most anxious times in our lives. That included patients who had as few as 4 or 5 sessions with a therapist.
And for individuals who, through therapy, had become used to facing their fears, putting themselves boldly into uncomfortable situations, this was just the next step in their journey.
For Jennifer, that meant quickly turning to the tools already in her mental health toolbox, including something as simple as remembering to breathe.
You take a breath in for 4 counts, hold for 4, release for 4, hold for 4, and that's actually a physiological reset of your fight or flight system.
She also learned to understand what sets off her own anxiety, like a bad night's sleep or a big deadline at work, and identify the behaviors that made those anxious feelings worse for her, like getting into the habit of going to bed too late and waking up feeling rushed. Even when she's not in therapy, those tools have made all the difference.
I don't know what my life would have been like, but it wouldn't be this. A lot of it was talking with my therapist about how to change my mindset. I have 4 walls and a roof over my head. I have a partner who's incredibly supportive. I've got family who's safe. Anxiety is a part of my identity, but it's a part of everybody's identity.
And Dr. Rossmarin says that is the key.
Once we face the fact that anxiety is a part of life, and we stop trying to get rid of it, and we learn to deal with it, we can learn to thrive with it.
Well, Dr. Rossmarin there adds that he'd like to see these conversations happening in schools and in workplaces. And he says to take away some of the stigma and to give people the tools to face their anxiety. We're going to put more resources on the anxiety treatments and coping tools that he's talking about with this story on our website and on our WCVB app. Ben and Erica.
Great.